Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you prepare, how much you try, or how talented you are, you still hesitate? That hesitation isn't about lack of skill in them, it's about one single thought quietly sabotaging your confidence every day. And the worst part? You probably don't even realize it. That one thought doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with noise or drama. It slips in quietly, almost politely, and because it's quiet, you don't resist it. You don't argue with it. You don't even notice it at first. It shows up as a small question in your mind, something that feels reasonable, even responsible. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess this up? What if they see through me? And because it sounds like caution, you let it stay. But what you don't realize is that this single thought is not questioning your plan or your skills, it's questioning your worth. Confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes slowly, and it always starts here. Every time that thought passes through your mind without being challenged, it leaves a mark. Not a visible one, but a psychological one. You begin to hesitate just a second longer than you used to. You soften your voice. You second-guess decisions you once made instinctively, and none of this feels dramatic, which is why it's so dangerous. You don't wake up one day feeling unconfident. You wake up one day feeling unsure of yourself, and you think that's just being realistic. But pay attention to the pattern. This thought doesn't say, you need to improve. It says, you might not be enough. Improvement empowers you. This thought weakens you. It shifts your focus away from growth and locks it onto self-evaluation. Suddenly, every action becomes a test of your value. Every mistake feels like proof. Every pause feels like exposure. And when your actions are tied to your worth, confidence can't survive. Because confidence requires room to experiment, to fail, to learn. What makes this thought so destructive is that it feels personal. It doesn't sound like an opinion. It sounds like insight. It feels like honesty. But it isn't truth, it's familiarity. You've heard it so many times. Maybe from the past, maybe from comparisons, maybe from moments when you were judged or dismissed. But now it sounds like your own voice. And when a thought sounds like your own voice, you stop questioning it. You start obeying it. This is where confidence really begins to collapse. Not when others doubt you, but when you quietly doubt your own worth before anyone else gets the chance. You walk into rooms already negotiating your value. You approach opportunities already preparing excuses. You hold back not because you lack ability, but because somewhere inside, a part of you is asking whether you deserve to take up space. And the most painful part is this: you don't even realize this thought is optional. You treat it like a fact of life, like gravity, like something that just exists. But the moment you see it, clearly the moment you realize this thought is not a verdict, but a habit, something shifts. Because confidence was never missing. It was just waiting for you to stop questioning your worth. After that first thought takes root, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You don't just doubt yourself in big moments. You start doubting yourself in the small, everyday ones. And that's where confidence really gets dismantled. Because confidence isn't built only on bold moves or major successes. It's built in the quiet repetition of trusting yourself. When that trust starts to break even slightly, the damage compounds. You begin to overthink decisions that once felt simple. What to say, how to say it, when to act. You replay conversations in your head not to learn, but to judge yourself. You imagine how others might see you, not to connect, but to protect yourself. And without realizing it, you've shifted from living to monitoring. You're no longer present in your actions. You're watching yourself perform them, evaluating every move. This inner monitoring feels responsible. It feels like self-awareness. But there's a crucial difference between awareness and suspicion. Awareness observes. Suspicion interrogates. And when you start treating yourself like someone who needs to be watched closely, confidence has no place to grow. You're never fully relaxed, never fully honest, never fully free. You're always holding back just a little, just in case. Over time, this habit of self-questioning trains your nervous system to associate action with danger. Speaking up feels risky. Trying something new feels exposed. Even success begins to feel uncomfortable, because now you're afraid of maintaining it. The thought isn't just, what if I fail anymore? It becomes, what if I can't live up to this again? And that fear quietly convinces you to stay smaller than you are. What's happening here isn't a lack of capability, it's a lack of permission. Somewhere along the way, you stopped giving yourself permission to be imperfect, to be learning, to be in process. You began expecting certainty before action, confidence before effort, proof before belief. But confidence doesn't work that way. It doesn't arrive first. It follows movement. And when you wait to feel confident before acting, you're asking for an effect without a cause. This is how that one thought tightens its grip. It teaches you to pause when you should move, to seek reassurance instead of experience, to rely on external validation because internal trust feels unstable. And every time you look outside yourself for confirmation, you weaken the muscle that creates confidence in the first place. But here's the turning point. The moment you notice this pattern, you regain power. Because patterns can be interrupted, habits can be retrained. You don't need to silence the doubt completely, or you just need to stop obeying it. Confidence isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's the decision to act without needing permission from fear. As that doubt settles in, it begins to reshape how you see your past. Moments that once felt like lessons start getting labeled as failures. Experiences that helped you grow get rewritten as proof that you're not good enough. And this is one of the most damaging shifts of all, because confidence is built on interpretation, not just experience. Two people can go through the same setback. One becomes stronger, the other becomes smaller, and the difference isn't talent. It's the story they tell themselves afterward. You start collecting selective evidence. You remember the times you stumbled more vividly than the times you stood strong. Your mind zooms in on what went wrong and quietly deletes what went right. Compliments fade quickly, but criticism echoes. Progress gets dismissed as luck, while mistakes get framed as identity. And slowly, without any dramatic moment, your inner narrative hardens into a verdict. This is where self-trust really erodes. Because if your past is painted as a series of warnings instead of a record of resilience, every new opportunity feels like a setup for embarrassment. You don't step forward asking, "What can I learn?" You step forward asking, "What if this proves I was right about myself?" And when that becomes the question, you're not exploring life, you're defending yourself from it. The danger isn't just that you feel less confident. It's that you stop experimenting. You stop trying things that don't guarantee approval. You choose familiarity over growth, even when familiarity is painful. You lower your standards for yourself, not because you lack ambition, but because you're tired of feeling disappointed. And that quiet retreat gets mistaken for maturity, when it's actually fear wearing a calm face. What's important to understand is this: your past was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be data. Every mistake contained information. Every struggle revealed endurance. Every uncomfortable moment stretched you in ways comfort never could. But when doubt takes control of the narrative, it converts raw experience into self-judgment. It turns history into a weapon against you. And here's the shift that changes everything. You are allowed to reinterpret your story. You are not obligated to carry the harshest version of your past forever. Growth requires revision. Strength requires perspective. When you look back through the lens of awareness instead of accusation, you start to see how much you survived, how often you adapted, how many times you kept going when it would have been easier to quit. Confidence returns when you stop using yesterday to punish today and start using it to prepare for tomorrow. And then that thought begins to change how you show up in the present moment. Not loudly, not dramatically, but subtly, dangerously subtly. You hesitate just a second longer before speaking. You soften your opinion so it doesn't sound too much. You delay starting because you want to feel ready first. On the surface, it looks like caution. Inside, it's confidence quietly shrinking. You start negotiating with yourself. I'll do it when I'm more prepared. Let me watch others first. It's not the right time. And none of these sound like weakness, which is why they're so convincing. But confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes through these small compromises. Every time you don't act because you're afraid of being exposed, that one thought gets reinforced. Maybe I'm not capable yet. What's really happening is that you've tied confidence to certainty. You've convinced yourself that confident people act because they know the outcome will be positive. But that's not true. Confident people act despite uncertainty. They don't wait for permission from their fear. They move with imperfect information, shaky hands, and unanswered questions. The difference is not that they doubt less, it's that they obey doubt less. When you believe that one destructive thought, that confidence must come before action, you trap yourself in a loop. You wait to feel confident before acting, But confidence only comes after acting. So you stay stuck, watching, overthinking, imagining worst-case scenarios. That feels safer than real effort. And over time, inaction starts to feel like your personality, not your pattern. This is where many people lose years, not because they weren't talented, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they kept mistaking hesitation for wisdom. They kept listening to a thought that said, if you fail, it will confirm everything you fear. So they chose not to try, and unknowingly confirmed it anyway. Here's the truth that breaks that cycle. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a skill you build, and like every skill, it grows through use, not theory. You don't become confident and then act. You act, stumble, adjust, and confidence forms behind you like a shadow. Every small step taken in fear weakens that thought. Every imperfect action proves it wrong. You don't need to silence doubt completely. You just need to stop letting it decide, because the moment you move without its approval, it loses its authority. And that's where confidence starts to return. By the time this thought has settled in, it doesn't just affect what you do. It reshapes how you see yourself. You stop measuring yourself against who you were yesterday and start measuring yourself against everyone else today. Their speed, their success, their confidence, their clarity. And without realizing it, you turn comparison into a daily habit. Not the loud kind where you openly feel jealous, but the quiet kind where you constantly feel behind. You scroll and you think, they already figured it out. You listen and you think, they sound so sure. You watch and you think, I could never do it like that. And each comparison whispers the same message. You're late. You're lacking. You're not enough yet. That one thought doesn't shout, it repeats over and over until it starts to feel like truth. But comparison is deceptive. You are comparing your inside, your doubts, your fears, your unfinished thinking to someone else's outside, their highlights, their confidence moments, their edited outcomes. And no one wins that comparison ever, because you never see the hesitation behind their certainty, the failures behind their growth, or the fear behind their calm. Here's what this thought really steals from you. Self-trust. You stop trusting your pace. You stop trusting your voice. You stop trusting your instincts. You begin outsourcing your confidence to proof. Proof from results. Proof from validation. Proof from approval. And when confidence depends on proof, it becomes fragile. Because proof comes after belief, not before it. Confidence was never meant to be borrowed from others. It's built by staying loyal to your own process, your timing, your path. The moment you accept that growth is not a race, something shifts. You stop rushing. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for being where you are. And ironically, that's when you start moving faster. You don't need to be ahead of anyone. You only need to be aligned with yourself. The strongest confidence doesn't come from outperforming others. It comes from knowing you're showing up honestly, consistently, and courageously, even when no one is watching. That kind of confidence doesn't fluctuate with comparison because it's rooted internally. The truth is, every confident person you admire once felt exactly like you do. Now unsure, incomplete, questioning themselves. The only difference is they didn't let comparison become a command. They noticed it, and then returned to their own lane, again and again. And when you stop measuring your worth against someone else's timeline, you finally give your confidence room to grow. At this stage, the damage is no longer coming from fear itself, it's coming from hesitation, from waiting, from standing still while your mind keeps asking for more certainty, more confidence, more guarantees. And that's where this thought quietly takes control. I'll start when I feel ready. It sounds responsible. It sounds wise. But in reality, it's one of the most confidence-destroying beliefs you can carry, because confidence does not come before action. It is a result of action. Every time you wait to feel ready, you deny yourself the very experience that would make you ready. You think clarity comes first, but clarity comes from movement. You think courage appears on its own, but courage is built by doing something despite fear. The mind tells you to wait, but life rewards those who move. Think about it. Every moment you admire confidence in someone else, what you're really seeing is familiarity. They look confident because they've been there before. They've tried, failed, adjusted, and tried again. You don't see the first awkward attempt. You don't see the uncertainty in the beginning. You only see the version that stayed long enough to grow. And then your mind compares their chapter 10 to your chapter 1 and tells you you're not ready yet. But readiness is a lie created by comfort. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. Every skill feels clumsy. Every new path feels unclear. And if you wait until the fear disappears, you will wait forever. The fear doesn't leave, you just get stronger than it. And that strength only comes from stepping forward while your hands are still shaking. Each time you take action despite doubt, something important happens inside you. Your self-trust increases. You prove to yourself that fear doesn't control you. And slowly, quietly, confidence begins to form. Not as a feeling, but as evidence. Evidence that you can survive discomfort. Evidence that you can learn. Evidence that you don't need perfection to begin. The people who change their lives are not the most confident. They are the most willing. Willing to look foolish. Willing to start small. Willing to move before everything makes sense. And that willingness compounds. One action leads to another. One step creates momentum. And momentum does what motivation never can. It carries you forward even on the days you doubt yourself. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for certainty. Start where you are, with what you have as you are. Because the moment you move, even imperfectly, confidence begins to catch up to you. The most important shift happens when you start noticing the thought itself, not judging it, not trying to force it away, but simply observing it. Awareness is subtle, but it's powerful. That thought has ruled your actions quietly for years. Because you treated it as reality. You obeyed it automatically without questioning it. But the moment you pause and say, there's that thought again, something remarkable happens. It loses its authority. Suddenly, you're no longer the thought's prisoner. You're the witness, and being a witness changes everything. You start seeing how often the thought repeats, how it tries to dictate your behavior, how it exaggerates danger and diminishes your achievements. It's like stepping out of a fog. When you're inside the fog, everything feels permanent and true. But when you step out, you realize that the fog is just a layer of perception, not the landscape itself. Awareness is that step outside. This doesn't mean the thought disappears instantly. It may still come back persistent as ever. But the difference is now you see it for what it is, just a thought. It is not a prophecy. It is not a law of the universe. It is not your identity. It's a habit of the mind, and habits can be retrained. And that realization, that it's not an unchangeable truth, is where confidence begins to re-enter your life. Awareness also allows you to pause before reacting. You no longer act automatically out of fear or doubt. Instead, you can make a conscious choice. Do I follow this thought? Or do I move forward anyway? That tiny space between thought and action is where freedom exists. That space is where you reclaim control over your mind and, by extension, your confidence. The more you practice noticing without judgment, the weaker the thought becomes. Repetition has been its ally. Awareness is your ally. Each time you observe it without letting it decide your actions, you train your brain to separate identity from habit. You begin to internalize the truth: I am not my thoughts. I am the one noticing them. And when you fully embody this, self-doubt no longer dictates the terms of your life. The final and most powerful effect of awareness is subtle but transformative. It restores choice. You can still feel doubt and you can still feel fear, but now you choose your response. You decide when to act, when to persist, when to speak up. And confidence grows naturally in that freedom because it is built on choice, not permission from fear. Awareness doesn't just crack the foundation of doubt. It clears the path for your natural strength to emerge. And finally, the moment you let go of the authority of that one thought, confidence begins to return naturally. This is not about forcing yourself to feel strong or pretending to believe in yourself when every instinct tells you otherwise. Real confidence doesn't come from denial. It comes from reclaiming your internal authority. It comes from realizing that the thought that has been sabotaging you has no actual power unless you give it power. The moment you stop obeying it, your strength begins to emerge on its own. Think about it. For years, you may have been measuring yourself by a mental standard that doesn't even exist. You believed a voice that whispered caution, criticism, and limitation. And all the while, your real capabilities, your natural resilience, your unrecognized courage were lying dormant. They were not gone. They were simply waiting for you to stop letting doubt dictate your reality. That's the key. Confidence was never missing, it was merely overshadowed. When you act without waiting for the perfect feeling of readiness, your mind begins to register success differently. Every small victory, every tiny step forward, becomes proof Not that you are flawless, but that you are capable. And this evidence grows. Gradually, doubt loses its grip because your experiences start contradicting it. The thought can still appear, yes, but it now feels optional. It is no longer an automatic controller of your choices. You realize that even when it whispers, you do not have to listen. You regain the choice to move forward regardless. What's powerful about this shift is that it doesn't happen overnight. You don't simply wake up one morning and feel fearless. Confidence builds quietly, almost imperceptibly, as you repeatedly act in alignment with your own truth rather than the limitations imposed by that thought. Each time you take action despite fear, each time you speak despite hesitation, each time you step into discomfort, you are quietly dismantling the authority of doubt. And with each step, your natural strength reclaims its place. You start noticing something profound. The thought that once ruled your decisions is no longer central to your life. You still have it, but it no longer defines you. You can engage with challenges without surrendering to fear. You can pursue goals without constantly seeking permission from yourself. You can face uncertainty without shrinking. That one destructive thought has lost its power because you stopped feeding it with unquestioned obedience. And the ultimate realization hits you. Confidence was never about being perfect, never about never feeling doubt, and never about proving yourself to others. Confidence is simply the natural result of reclaiming authority over your own mind. It is the evidence that when you stop letting a single thought dictate your actions, your real strength, was quiet, persistent, undeniable, rises to the surface. Confidence is not something you find outside. It is something that returns the moment you refuse to let doubt control your life. Remember this. Confidence isn't about silencing doubt. It's about refusing to obey it. That one thought may visit you, but it does not define you. Step forward anyway, act despite fear, and watch as your natural strength finally rises to meet the life you deserve.